well, let me teach people how to actually command the room through their body language, their voice, their tonality, how they move through a room. So they're influential, because that's actually how then you get noticed without having to be the loudest in the room.
Sharing with people your scars, not your wounds, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't do it when you're in it. You do it when it's healed.
So it's not about commanding others to step up to the plate. It's actually command yourself to step up to the plate and others rise with you.
This is when I will always say the hustle's not bad. People
Yeah,
worry about the hustle.
real
The hustle
negativity
is
about
good.
hustle.
Yeah.
Everyone changed that word hustle. When you have to hustle
So
like
true.
that in a powerful, fun way, it's amazing.
If I could give anyone, not just one piece of advice, but say anything, it's you actually forget when you're in it, you forget how far you've come.
I had to be okay with the process. I had to be okay with the fact that if I was going to continue to lead myself and step up for what I needed and what my children needed, other things were going to have to go with that.
Start with the operator, not the operations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Transform them, in turn transforms the business.
If you are feeling disorientated from the business, remember it is about the transformation that you're giving to the buyer.
You can't control and persuade out
Yes.
there, but you can change what you're putting out from here.
Yeah, these are the strategies I did in order to make myself feel better when I was in that space. And then she's like, what type of voodoo wizard are you?
One of the parts of leadership that people it's so underestimated is self-regulation.
Yeah.
Like everyone goes straight for, I've got to update the operating systems. I need the funnel, I need the foundations, I need the system. I'm like, how about we upgrade the operator?
Like, who are you influenced by?
Yes.
Who are you surrounding yourself with? Are they making you a better person or potentially not as great? Before we dive in, just a quick little love note from us. If this podcast has ever made you laugh, cry, think, or feel seen, please hit that subscribe button. It's the easiest way to keep the magic going, and it helps us land more incredible guests for you. Go on, back your girls, subscribe now, and let's keep rising together.
Welcome back to the Inner Sanctum, Salon Rising, the podcast. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning.
How are you? Be honest.
Oh, like shit. I'm surviving. I've got a horrible cold, but I'm here. I'm pretty sure Richard was going to throw me off a bridge if I was like, cancel everything tomorrow. So I'm here. Welcome. I'm alive.
keeping on.
Keep on, like the joys of being wearing the many hats. But I'm very excited for what we have on today.
Yeah, and I think that the many hats is probably a good place to start with the guest that we've got today, because even prior to starting, we're like, I don't even know how to introduce you. You have so many hats. So Sam, maybe segue us in and then our guest can introduce herself.
All her hats. Okay,
Yes.
so I will introduce her as my friend first and foremost. So everybody, this is my friend, Miss Tiana Baxter. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
And it's interesting how Tiana and I met, and the reason why we say many hats is Tiana and I met as client to my salon. So she was with another staff member, and it was like 5 or 6 years ago now, maybe even longer, 7 maybe.
5 or 6,
And she came as a client to the salon to a staff member of mine. And when that staff member left, I was like, I want to take her on, because she had this like vivacious energy, and it's this really powerful energy that I think
It fills a room.
and
not in a like in your face way.
Yeah.
It's an energy that is palpable.
and I was like, I want to
how.
know her and I want to hang out with her. And I think it was also an energy that it was like needed to be like with like, if that makes sense. I think it needed that power of me and her, and we just developed this relationship, I guess, through being a client, and then just evolved into so much more. So welcome to the pod.
Thank you for having me.
So again, like we said before, if you were to say to somebody, what is your, and we can go back to what our history was, but what your role is, what your job is now, what you do now, what would you say?
Yeah, when someone comes up to you and they go, hi, Tiana, it's nice to meet you. What do you do? What do you say?
The elevator pitch.
Yeah.
I don't have one, because there's multiple things I think that I would say that I do in terms of, so here's how I would position it. You know, when you meet someone and they might have to, if they're a business owner, and they might have to jump online to sell a product or be visible, or they're speaking on stage and they get a little bit nervous and shaky in their voice, and you see their language start to collapse and they get a little bit sweaty and they're unsure how to be visible. Well, what I do is I solve that problem. So I work with women on how to command the room, to command attention, to be able to help transform their clients' lives.
Jen's going, that's hilarious considering we just said how.
That is what you do.
Yeah.
That is what you do.
I was actually,
I don't
when
even
you
think
introduced
it's what
me
you
like
do.
that-
I think it's who you are.
well, when you introduced me like that, you didn't even know that that's what
Yeah,
I was
that's
going to
what
say.
I was
Like
say.
that it permeates. Like it's something you need to be around. So I think that's a great way to describe
Yeah,
it.
well, I mean, that's one of the things. But for me, I've worked, as you know, business mentor for 4 years now and helping people build their businesses with strategy behind the scenes. And I realized and you've been in some of my spaces, so you know, but you can give everyone the same strategy. I could give you the 10-step funnel template. Amazing. We all need it. We need backbones and foundations in our business. And then I'm like, why would some people really nail it and fly
Yeah.
and some wouldn't, outside of mindset and, you know, the behind the scenes that they need to work on in their own life? And I realized it's people actually don't know the strategy of command.
Yeah.
You know, and they are here, and whether it's doing hair, selling a product, a mentor, whatever it is, you're all here to transform someone's life. Like I trust that everyone wants a good intention, good impact. Well, let me teach people how to actually command the room through their body language, their voice, their tonality, you know, how they move through a room. So they're influential, because that's actually how then you get noticed without having to be the loudest in the room.
Yes. And I think that's such an important differentiation to make. You know what I mean? You can be noticed. You don't have to be the loudest person in the room, because I think there's a lot of people that aren't comfortable in certain situations, like putting themselves out there, that it's like you don't have to be yelling, look at me. Like you can still be impactful and powerful and quiet, you know?
I would say it's probably, when I look at the high performers, I would say, I talk about this from, you know, the coaching element that I do, but we have multiple businesses, product-based business, we have a children's book, we do multiple things. And even when I look at it with team members, with sales team, Josh, my husband, who, you know, leads those businesses as well, as soon as he started understanding, you know, his persuasion field and how to actually use that to command, it's not the loudest. The loudest is pick me energy. Look at me, you know, and I'm not saying you don't need to be visible and use your voice, but there's a way that you can use it that's so grounded, so authentic, that actually pulls people in versus repel them away.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
I feel like we need an entire podcast just on how to do that.
It's one of those things. We were laughing on the weekend. I was at an event and I said to Josh, it's so funny because I honestly believe this work in the wrong hands is not good.
Oh, agreed.
Because people will take the persuasion field and turn it into manipulation.
Yeah.
And so I'm so mindful of how I share it, because it is skills, but it has to be with the right heart center that use these skills.
Yeah, I love that.
I mean, like I just think of, this is controversial, but it makes you think of like people like Hitler, you know, and it's like,
Mind control.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like, yes, it's got to be in the right hands.
Yeah.
It is, and it's not to it's never to influence the other person. It's actually influencing yourself.
Yeah.
That then opens the field for the other people. And I think that's where people misconstrue the idea behind it.
Yeah.
It's not I'm going to force you into this. It's more I'm going to show up this way, speak this way, hold open energy in a certain way.
And
you know,
allow
there
you to
are
come in
strategies
if you want
behind
to.
it.
Yeah.
You know, there is strategies. There are certain things you can and can't say. But it's so that way the other person can make an informed decision based on, and you said it when you did the intro, which was so beautiful, thank you. But you walk into a room or you come into a Zoom call or you go into a shopping centre and you meet someone, you know instantly before they even open their mouth, right, how you feel with them, don't you? Like we judge, it's like, some people say it's 7 seconds, 3 seconds. It's now been measured at like less than 1.3 seconds. We have and I'm not saying we should be judgmental people, but our bodies almost pick up on what is that? And it's outside of the, you know, I don't speak into the side of like the frequency and that side of it, but it's actually more you are picking up something in their field, and it could just literally be that they're standing crossed with their arms. So and also now they're not open. Yeah, now they're in a closed field.
Yeah.
And you don't know why you feel standoffish with that person. Over time, you will get to know them and build trust. But if we literally are in these businesses where we're having a sales call, we're meeting someone face to face, we're on camera, and we've got less than 3 seconds, we need to know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we need to know, because down in our heart is we want to serve you,
Yeah.
but we might not realize there's something going on in our personal life that's made us closed off for the day.
Yeah.
Therefore, we're showing up closed off. What are the simple things we can do to help us in those moments that actually shift your state too?
Yes.
Oh my God, I love it.
I know.
I was like, I didn't even know we were taking this podcast and I'm already like oh, teach me. And that's a funny thing. So we met, let's go back into our history a bit because I think it's important to speak on who you are and, you know, why you've played a big part in my life. And I think because behind this, I think it's really important because people are, for example, seeing you for the first time and they're like, okay, what is she about? What does she do? Like, why does she do this? So when you and I met, you were quite high up in a corporate field.
Yep.
And it was very cool for me because I watched you step into the coaching space with, you know, you were just like, I remember sitting here one day doing your hair and you were like, do I change my Instagram or do I like, what do I call myself and what does this look like? And we were like,
I had to ask you, how do I write in this? How do I write this? Where I need a space in this caption. How do I do that? Do you not remember?
That's right. I remember that. You were like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going to do it. And you just did it with like you knew. And at that point behind the scenes, you had done a lot of coaching yourself and you had gone through and done it with the right people that felt really good for you as well. You know, it wasn't just like, I'm going to fluke this, I'm going to jump in, I'm going to see if it works.
No.
You very much knew behind the scenes what that would look like for you. And you obviously, you and Josh, your husband, have businesses together. They also have 2 little girls as well that I think is really important to talk about because we always talk about the motherhood in all of this.
Yeah.
And that was very cool because I think it was only about 12 months later that I decided to do Salon Rising. And I remember saying to Rich, I need, like, if I'm doing this, I need to do this. I need a coach because for me, it wasn't about learning. I knew what I knew with teaching someone how to do the strategy, but I really needed to be in a space with somebody that could lead me through things, could, you know, look at things in a different light. And many of those things, like so much of that still lives with me. And I think the top one for me was leadership. Like I really felt like when I did about 4 or 5 months in a container with you, I gained this different idea and thought process on what leadership should look like. And I think, and it's something that I say to you all the time, one of the most incredible qualities you have is your integrity. You are one of like the most integral people I've ever met, meaning that if you say it, you are living it. If you say to do it, that's what you are living every day. And I think it's really easy for us, you know, in this space, and I can put my hand up and say, you know, sometimes we're like, do this, and we've gotten tired on the other side and potentially aren't doing that anymore.
Yeah.
And it's really hard then to show up in those areas.
What do they call it? The difference between being a parrot and a practitioner.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, are you just parroting what you should do or are you a practitioner of what you're saying?
What you're saying. Yeah. And, you know, you lead with so much integrity. You know, in that mastermind I was in, you went through things and I just saw you, everything was led with this like, and, you know, this is why you should be doing what you're doing now because every way you led was with this like quiet, reserved power that just didn't have to be spoken. It was just like you just led yourself. So I've watched you move through that and then move through so many other things that I think the other thing that I wanted to say here with someone like you is that you have been in this like coaching space for 4 years?
Yeah.
And you have redeveloped yourself over and over and over and over again in the same integrity. You haven't changed at all as a person, but you have found yourself in different, like it has moved you through different seasons and different occasions, and you've found something so deep that you've been able to, you know, you were massive at the beginning and then you stayed quiet. We talked about that before. So I'd love you to take us through a bit of your journey because I've been able to watch it as a friend unfold and it's been so special. But for me, it's allowed me to step into those things as I've watched you do it as well.
Thank you for saying all of that. Integrity is one of my highest values and to be witnessed in that means a lot, so thank you. I think, as you mentioned, I started in a corporate career and with that there was like over 3,000 staff members. So leadership was something I had to learn and I started quite young in that career and grew with that company for a long time. Leadership was something I had to learn at a really young age, and understanding that leadership starts with leading yourself first. And, you know, I think you see it as integrity and it is integrity, but how can I possibly lead anyone, whether it's a client, my children, any situation, if I'm not doing maybe not exactly the same thing, because I'm not going to do the same things I ask my children to do all the time. I may have done it when I was younger, but how can I actually expect anything of anyone else? So I talk about commanding a room, but the underlying truth of that is command more of yourself than you do of others. So it's not about commanding others to step up to the plate. It's actually command yourself to step up to the plate and others rise with you is the terminology. And, as you know, we've been friends for a long time, but you've been in some of those spaces and you've seen all the wins and some of, the down times, and that I really do believe that leadership does come down to how well you can self-regulate in the moment. And I think what I've learned when you said, when I started the business, I started going to start this online business. I'd never had social media. My social media was friends and family. I had 200 followers. It was on private. And I remember sitting here saying to you, I do this for a living. I'm actually going to bring it online. I know I can help people. And I built it slowly, but it actually took off really quickly.
Really fast.
And when I look back at the lessons, which I think we step away from, and when you said I've not reinvented, but I've been able to keep re-emerging and allowing my evolution to keep moving online. So it doesn't feel stale.
Because I think that's important, right? It's not, we're not going, and you've got to be really okay with the people that drop off with that as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is actually one of the hardest lessons to learn.
There's been a lot of, I'm going to mention one of them if you're all right with it, but in the beginning you were in human design.
Yes.
And now you are a very strong Christian.
Yes.
And that evolved over the last 4 years.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really special journey. And, you had to be okay with the fact that, no, I'm still the same person, but my values and how I lead myself is different because I'm now leading myself with the Lord.
Yep.
And that's been massive as well because I've also watched that evolvement, and so you've also got to be really okay with the fact that this is who I am. And when I say you stay quiet in things, you process everything, you really implement, that's why I say integrity, and then you move forward with, okay, this is where I'm at. Whereas it is so easy to be like, I learned this is amazing. This is what I'm teaching.
Yeah.
You don't do that. You're very much like, I'm going to stay back. I'm going to stay quiet. I'm going to first make sure that integrate this completely before I move forward and share it, because on the other side that people are potentially not going to like that. And I think in a space of social media, and we were having this conversation before, in the space of social media, so much of it is ego, and I can relate completely to that, where we want that dopamine hit of someone being like, you're doing a really good job, or I love that. And we're not actually letting it integrate in ourselves first, so that if we get rattled, it's okay.
Yeah. It's so true. And I think it's the integrity piece, yes, but I think we've learnt this. There would have been times where I'm like, I heard something really amazing. I'm like, I want to share it.
Yeah.
And so you share it, and then you don't even know the transformation that whether we have 500 followers, whether we have 20 followers, whether we have thousands, hundreds of thousands of followers, in every interaction with someone, you are causing an effect of influence.
Yeah.
In the coffee shop in the morning, any time you are with another human
being. And I would
being,
like to say I am highly influenced by Tiana in a way, because she is so integral. A lot of my life has pivoted from us, and we weren't good friends, and I'd probably say in the last probably 12 months we've become good friends, but it was just on a client basis, and hairdresser. So even in that space, you were very influential to me, but it's so that it only speaks volumes that you're doing this work, because you are very influential in what you do. So you've also got to be careful of that.
Well, this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And, I think we forget that.
Yeah.
And could you imagine it? And people do it, and there's no judgment. It's a learning for them. But I've watched it. I can sit back. I can watch the patterns that play out. And even though I'm able to allow my evolution to lead me, it never feels like whiplash for people watching.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people do that because they've shared too early before they've integrated, realize it's not actually what they want to be known for or what they want to share. If I came out and said something, I have to be really aware. And like I said, it doesn't matter if I had 5 followers. It doesn't matter if you have no followers. It's any interaction with another human, we are leaving an imprint and a level of influence on them.
Yeah.
Right? Any interaction.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm going, well, if I have, God is my, God leads me now. And if I'd come forward with that when I first, 9 years ago, I went to church. It's a long story. I won't go into it now. I went to church with my it wasn't my husband at the time. Then we left church, and then now we've been back in church, or back with the Lord, I should say, walking with the Lord. And if I'd come forward as soon as that he had said, let's go back to church, I wasn't integrated in that yet. I wasn't, and also it's understanding what is the purpose of sharing this.
Yeah.
Like, what is actually the purpose? I'm running a business.
Yep.
Right? I'm not running an entertainment channel.
Yes.
I'm not.
Yes.
And I want to share my life with you, but I want to also make sure when I share it with you, if it's going to leave any influence on you, that I actually can back it up with, this is how it's helped me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Rather than, this is a cool trend.
Yes. Yes.
We're running companies, we're running businesses, and I think it's really important to remember that and sharing that side of our life. Why are we sharing it, firstly? And if it's, I actually just want to share this because it's really important to me. It's part of my values, and anyone that works with me would understand it's, whilst I don't preach or talk on it a lot, it's part of, my value system.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then I want to make sure that I'm in integrity with it.
Yes.
Especially something like that.
Yes.
But anything.
So you and I have had that conversation
Yeah.
when people go, okay, what does that integrity look like? Tiana's like, well, I don't do human design anymore. You just heard her before say, I don't speak into frequencies anymore, and I don't have crystals anymore. And I do go to church and I do practice.
I still do believe we have a frequency from a
Yes.
science point of view.
From a science
But
point of view.
I'm moving away from that language because
yeah.
it's used in a different fashion to what I
Yes.
would use it. But it is
Yes.
still very,
Yes.
Yeah.
But you will hear when she speaks on things like that, and when she says potentially people aren't in integrity, it's saying one thing, doing the other.
Yeah.
Saying,
Yeah.
saying that yes, and it is people sharing too quickly. And as I said, it's been a long, this has been, I think even as you and I were speaking, it was a long journey before we kind of started speaking into it as well. But I think that, watching that evolvement and watching how you stepped into different things. And you haven't just you've allowed yourself to move into the different areas as they've felt right. We've done the coaching, you've done the one-on-one, you've done programs, you've done stage stuff, and it's been amazing to watch. And then you were like, okay, now I'm quiet. And
Now I'm
everyone's
going to
like,
build businesses behind the scenes.
where is she?
Yeah.
Everyone was like, where is she? And, and then I would know behind the scenes because you and I have a relationship, but it's been so interesting. And then people want to know what you're doing because you're staying quiet and you're commanding in a different type of way.
Yeah, it's really interesting because we do need to be visible. So I want to be mindful in how I share this.
Yeah.
Because we do, if we have an online business, we do need to be visible.
Yes.
To bring in clients or whatever your field is. But at the same time, curiosity is catnip.
Yeah.
Curiosity. And it wasn't intentional. It was more my husband and I last year, I'd said to him at the start of 2024, I want to find a way. So one of our other businesses, we're in the process of franchising it.
Yep.
And that business does not require any social media. It's all run through paid ads. So my business is completely organic.
Yep.
His business is, our business, but he runs it, is run all through paid advertising.
Yep.
So he's never had to show up in terms of being visible per se, in saying that a lot of his ads are all his recordings that
I
he's
was
done in
going
one
to say,
go.
he is in it, but it's
Yeah.
not like that constant.
No,
yeah.
he will batch everything in one day and it'll last him 3 years.
Yeah.
That's, because then it's run through funnels. And so when I said to him last year, I want to find a way that we can build, because we had so many great ideas, so many opportunities that came to us. Let's build these businesses that don't require a social media presence if we didn't want one. So yes, if we choose to do that, I do believe that there will always be an element of social media presence, but don't require us to be on.
Yep.
And that's what we did. We built 3 companies behind the scenes, and it created this curiosity for people because I wasn't announcing everything before I'd done it.
Yeah.
And I think one thing I've noticed, especially in our industry, is a lot of people will announce, and that's exciting because it's a drawing card, right? It's an influential card. People, I want to be part of their world. I want to know what they're doing next. But then what can actually happen is if you follow for a lot of time, you never see the fruit of that announcement.
Yes.
And for me, it was something that I had previously done where I'd shared something and then changed my mind. And we're allowed to change our mind, right?
Yeah.
We change our mind whenever we want. And I thought, no, I don't want to influence people into something they think I might be doing that I'm not doing anymore.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel clean. So instead, now when I share something, it's because it's already in motion.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
Yeah, I call it it's silent power.
Yep.
It's already in motion, and now I'm going to share the journey with you and the lessons with you and what I'm learning from it.
It's like
And it's
that
already in
whole
power.
idea of sharing with people your scars, not your wounds, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't do it when you're in it. You do it when it's healed and they can
Yeah.
see like the full trajectory of it.
Yeah. or even sharing the journey, I think is powerful. As I said, we're franchising one of the businesses, and I was thinking the other day, I actually should share this because it's been like, that's a whole other learning curve. If anyone's ever franchised a company, it's not like there's so much regulation. It's been a whole different, I'm learning. I feel like
she's had lots
I feel
of
like
lots
I'm on the
of
bottle
lawyers'
again as a
phone
business
calls.
owner. I said, Josh, I feel like I'm back on a dummy learning all these lessons. And I'm like, this is really powerful to learn. But that's sharing from hey, this is an insight, this is what we're doing, versus sharing to try and manipulate the viewer's point of view.
Yeah, wow. So, okay, I interrupted because I was getting so excited. So, with your journey, went from corporate into coaching.
Yep.
And then
We had the other companies first. So
you had two companies first. When did things start to shift a bit more for you? Because you obviously went quiet for a while.
Yep.
And what you're doing now, you and I had only a conversation at dinner. You were like, okay, it's coming.
Yeah.
Like this is coming to life and it's been brewing and I've been ready for it. Do you want to speak on that little bit of a journey?
So when I came online, like you said, initially I started in human design coaching, and I loved that. I really enjoyed that. And that then transitioned. Every time I was doing human design coaching with someone, it always was about their business.
Yeah.
And I realized I had these skills. I knew how to make money. It's what I've always done in corporate and in my other companies. So I was like, I'm going to teach people foundations of business, how to create a business, how to make it profitable.
When we say it grew fast.
It grew
you
fast.
grew fast. Like you hit $1 million
in 5 months.
In 5 months.
Yeah. And 2 million with under 3,000 followers.
2 million
even just thinking
organically.
4 years, like even just thinking into that, comprehending that all like where we're sitting now, and
she
that
made
was only
$1 million
4 years
in
ago.
5
Like that's
months.
just blows my mind.
Can I say something? I was thinking about this on the drive here, and I imagine there's a lot of business owners that listen to this. If I could give anyone not just one piece of advice, but say anything, it's you actually forget when you're in it, you forget how far you've come.
Yeah.
So even that, it was only the other day I was going through some old content and I found the reels that I had made at that time. And and you feel like you watch the person and you remember that person. So I feel like I've evolved so much since that day. And you actually look back and you're like, I've done some stuff.
Yeah.
And I just you've got to remind yourself of that, because it's not all, you've seen it. It's not all butterflies and rainbows. Like business can be tricky and hard, and life can be. And I think we forget.
Yeah.
We just forget. And it sounds so cliche, but I was like, no, I actually want to stop and remind people, like, I know it's tough right now. If it is.
Yeah.
Just actually look where you've come.
Yeah.
So it grew very, very quickly. And I learned a lot of lessons really, really, really quickly. Like 47 private clients is not a smart move. I wanted to help everyone.
Yeah. 47.
I can help everyone.
That's burnout.
That's burnout.
Yeah.
Yeah. With a capital B.
Yeah. Because people, what they don't realize when it comes to coaching space, it's not just the one-on-one calls. It's all of the background. It's
the messaging.
It's the messaging
holding
of their space.
Yeah.
And generally when people come to you for a coach, that is them unloading all of the stuff that's going wrong.
Yeah.
And you have to hold that stuff for them and with them in the most integral way.
Yeah.
So it's the behind the scenes stuff that gets really heavy. So 47 people of that holding all of that is a lot.
Look, it definitely created fast growth for myself, but this is when I always say one of the parts of leadership that people it's so underestimated is self-regulation.
Yeah.
Like everyone goes straight for, I've got to update the operating systems. I need the funnel. I need the foundations. I need the system. I'm like, how about we upgrade the operator first?
Yeah.
Because that I could have, I end up putting systems in and funnels in, so I didn't have to hold that much anymore. But initially I needed to learn how do I hold this and hold a space for them to grow without me taking on.
Without
they're
I've
moving
just got the
through.
vision of like the hunched over person with just more and more stuff getting piled onto
How
their
do
back.
I do that? That wasn't going to come down to systems in order to help
Everybody
me.
right now is thinking what I'm thinking. How?
Yeah, honestly, and you would have heard me say this. I feel like I've said it too many times, but I believe
I know
in
all of
business,
things. She's told me all of these
it's
things. I'm
capacity.
probably not following.
But it doesn't mean that
it's your capacity to hold. And I will meet someone for the very first time and they will start, like, I can give you an example. I went to an epic event on Saturday night, epic. And there were a lot of coaches in the room at this event. It wasn't for that, it was for someone's birthday, but just happened to be they were coaches. And I'd start talking to them and instantly they're so passionate about their businesses and transforming lives. And I would be listening and they'd be telling me some of their challenges and, things they're moving through, which was amazing. And then instantly I could tell straight away where their capacity is at. And if we can't keep expanding our capacity, we actually can't take on more, even a system, because our capacity is just like we've reached boiling point. Think of like it's trying to keep all the corks underwater and you're like, holding them down and they're popping up and you're trying to push them down again and they're popping up.
Mate,
They're falling out of the barrel.
it's literally my life.
So firstly, the first how is actually expanding your capacity. So getting a little bit uncomfortable. I don't regret it. It was brilliant how I did that. I think that's why I grew so quick, because I had to then expand very, very quickly, and how I was able to hold what you do behind the scenes makes you more valuable on the scenes. So it's, again, so basic, but it's sleep, it's exercise, it's regulation. For me, it's prayer. Like, it's actually my standards and my alignment behind the scenes makes me more magnetic on the scenes.
And it's the same message. It's a message that you hear all the time.
Yeah.
But I feel like once it sticks, right?
Yeah.
And we have sometimes we have to hear that message over and over again.
I know this message from Tiana a million times. Am I exercising? No. Am I taking care of myself? No. And my capacity at the moment is extended. I am, but I'm not doing all of those things because I don't have time for them. But then you have to go, this is what Tiana will be like, that has to be number one time.
And I'm not someone that's going to go, you need a 5-step morning routine. Like, I don't believe, like, there are times in business where I've been up, like when we launched the children's book right before Christmas, I was doing 24-hour days.
Yeah.
Like, I'm saying I did not sleep. Like, you should already saw some of my stories at 3 a.m. Like, it was a big project. There are times in
because you know that you have the tools in place, that once that bit is over, you will be able to regulate again.
Yes.
This is when I will always say the hustle's not bad. People worry about the hustle.
Real
the hustle is
about
good.
hustle.
Yeah.
Everyone changed that word hustle. It, like, when you have to hustle like that in a powerful, fun way, it's amazing.
And you're creating, and you know that you're pushing to get somewhere.
It's overwhelm when it's not. When you're like, but I'm hustling full time. I'm like, no, you're just overwhelmed. Your capacity is at peak.
The only time I see the hustle as bad, or when people get overwhelmed or they're burnout, because they're not enjoying what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're not on purpose anymore.
Yeah.
Because, I was tired. There were a lot of, like, when I, like, literally, like, not going to sleep because kids were on holidays. So then I'd be like, have the kids after being up all night, reading over, revising books. It was full on.
Yeah.
But I was so on purpose and so passionate about this project and launching this business that it didn't feel like burnout. On the flip side of that, I've had things, even in, Tiana Rose Inc., where I haven't been on purpose and I've been trying to fill gaps and it hasn't felt as fun.
Yeah.
And that burnout comes 10 times faster from doing maybe a 12-hour day, versus a 24-hour day, because I'm not on purpose. I'm not enjoying it. And I think sometimes that's where we say hustle's bad. It's not. You're a business owner. There are going to be seasons of hustle. There is.
If you want to grow, you have to hustle at some point, right?
That's it. And, I still am a big fan of foundations and systems. So I think they're so important to give us freedom. But I really do believe that looking after yourself, again, not the 10-step morning routine, if you've got kids and businesses and a husband, and that's not always going to happen, but prioritize the minimum, because what happens is when we get to overwhelm, like you were just saying how you're feeling at the moment, we actually then, we deprioritize ourselves, almost like we don't deserve it. That landed, didn't it?
Everything you say lands.
I'm like,
this podcast is just for me, guys.
Well, it does.
This is just me catching up with my friend.
I get
and
so overwhelmed.
it was a good excuse for Richard to get off my ass, because I'm just going to have a session with my friend.
You're hilarious.
Yeah.
It's like, I say to Josh, sometimes the overwhelm feels like you want to hunch forward and you've got like this cape over your head and you're just in it and your head's spinning and there's all these things you have to do. So then you almost don't want to allow yourself to go for a walk, or because you get a little bit addicted to the feeling and the nervous system deregulation. I've noticed that in myself at times. I've got addicted to the high and the anxious nervous system, thinking that was normal. Now I leverage it. So I love that feeling of being on and going, but I know that it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable for my marriage. It's not sustainable for my parenting, and it's not sustainable for me as a person. Yeah.
What would you say? So when you've had those times where you're like, I'm feeling like I've lost, like when you've had those times when you're like, oh, I'm feeling this is not hustle because I'm not enjoying it. I've lost that purpose. What have you done to work through that?
I will always
because I feel like we have a lot of business owners that get to this point and they're like, but what do I do to work through that? How do I build that back, or what do I do? What do I need to do in that area to like because I have a lot of business owners that come to me and they're in complete burnout.
Yeah. Firstly, if you actually are in burnout, and when I say not just disorientated from your business, but actually burnt out, your nervous system's fried, your health is suffering, there's symptoms that are playing out, actually do need to go look after yourself. You do. And you need to decide what that looking after is. It's different for everyone. Like it really is. You know, for me, I like the gym because I get relaxed there. For other people, that will cause more burnout for their nervous system. So it's working out what works for you.
Yep.
One thing, you need to step back and take a breath. 2, to re-engage, rebrand, reinvent every time.
Find the excitement again.
Yep. What do I need to do? And honestly, the third thing, when you started your business, and I do believe this for everyone, while some people will say, no, it was just to make money, like I wanted to make money, there is always another underlying element to that, and they wanted to have some kind of impact on someone. Whatever it is, that's what they wanted. Come back to that why, and always remember, this is something so we're franchising one of our companies. All weekend, we've had to rebrand it to, there's so many regulations, so those rebranding had to happen. And I was working with Josh, and he's very, what would be the word? Attached, thank you, to certain colours that we had used for certain products within that company.
Oh, yes.
And I'm looking at it, and for months, I'm like, it needs to change. But, you know, I teach persuasion, so I'm like, okay, I can see that I can just tell him, or I can actually use what I teach to let him come up with the idea and change it. Just so you know, he came up with the idea and changed it. But I said to him yesterday, I said, I actually believe this is why, you know, this colour works. This is why it works for where our demographic's going. This is what we're going to need to do. We're going to have to consider this. And I was giving him all the rundown. And then he's like, yeah, but we've already got all the collateral. It's so much easier to change the name. And then we've got, you know, all the graphic design's been done. I said, oh, that's the easy way of doing things. Yeah. Like we can definitely do easy here. And I said to him, what if changing the colours actually gave you, because it's going to give the brand a new recognition, new identity, it actually lets you feel even more fulfilled within this business. Because when people come to this business, they come for a transformation. And I left it at that. And by the afternoon, he was at a kids' party, but he was doing some work there, and he sent me all the new colours. And I could feel that he was so excited about where the business was going again.
Yeah.
It sounds so basic. There's so much more than just colours. But if you are feeling disorientated from your business, remember it is about the transformation that you're giving to the buyer. The buyer, like knowing your buyer well, they don't come to you for the product. They come for the transformation, the experience, and the identity shift they get to have.
Yeah.
Even if it's shampoo.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, my hair is going to be different. You know, it might grow more, whatever the shampoo is. I'm going to get a transformation. Therefore, my identity gets to shift. And I think whenever I felt like that in my business, I just make sure that I'm keeping the buyer in the forefront of my mind. What is the transformation they're coming to me for again? Okay, where do I need to pivot? What do I need to do? And then instantly I'm like, I'm back in purpose.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it's only the little
long way of
things.
answering it, but
No, I need
it's
the
so
long way.
good.
yeah, I need to give the examples, you know. And even this morning I could see in Josh, he was like, oh, these new colours, because they're quite different. Like it's not just like gone from pink to pink. It's like very different. And it's a lot more grounded. And he's like, this is going to change the whole identity of the brand. And I'm like, And then I could see his identity shifting within that. Yeah.
That's powerful. Everything Tiana says.
And then,
is
you know,
powerful.
he said to me afterwards when he got home, he's like, did you just
do that to me?
And I'm like, what is this? He's like, did you just puppeteer me? I'm like, no, honey, it was your idea.
Yeah. Puppet master.
And then I
Crushed
quickly
it.
write down, how did I do that? I'll be teaching that in module 2.
You're like, just
I'll
check.
remember
You want
that.
your husband to do something? Check.
Funny, isn't it? Funny. But I was answering your question. I went off on a different subject.
No.
I started with the business coach, human design, then did business coaching. We built some other business. We've got a children's book, the first truly personalised children's book, which has been amazing. We've got a tech company that we've built as well now. So we're doing things behind the scenes. But in terms of this business, when you asked for the evolution, I've always worked with corporate clients behind the scenes. So these would be, from the corporate client I came from, my name got passed around. So I'd go in and work with the CEO or the MD and then end up doing training with their teams.
Yep.
And that has been in my business since day one. It's just not something I've ever necessarily spoken about publicly because a lot of those contracts are also NDAs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of IP involved in that. So it's a different kettle of fish and it's all word of mouth.
Yeah.
Well, this work I'm doing is what I've always done with them. But it's all been proprietary, so I haven't been able to share it publicly. But we found a way now that I can reprogram a lot of that work that's caused huge transformations to bring forward, and I've had approval to do that. So that's why now I get to share it.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Well, I've watched businesses that have almost gone into receivership completely transformed just from the leader doing this work and then us doing it with their team.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
it's
incredible.
powerful.
Yeah.
Start with the operator, not the operations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Transform them
Yeah.
in turn transforms the business.
Because once you shift internally, your systems shift because then you look for opportunities.
Yeah.
Like think about any time you've created a new system or a new foundation, it's because you've shifted in expanding. You're wanting to expand. So you're like, okay, what can I put in place now to further expand? Whereas if you're not shifting your identity because you're in overwhelm, it's hard to expand internally or externally.
Yeah.
You're so wise.
I'm making it sound peachy. It's because I've been through.
You have been, yeah.
I think
So
that's
many
really
trials
nice
and
though.
tribulations
You have,
and-
and you've never like, especially for the people in your world that you've been working with, you've never pretended like everything is fine and everything is rosy.
No.
Like, but I remember the huge impact that your leadership took, Samara, with Samara. Who's Samara?
I don't know. I was like,
What do you
that's
normally
weird.
call her?
Sam.
Sam. I've never called you Sam.
It's funny.
You're always Samara.
It's a reinvention.
It's my reinvention.
Yeah,
like,
she's
that's
the
kind of-
Sam. It's the new
All right. I
colours.
was always Samara because he who shall not be named, ex-husband, his family wouldn't call me Sam because his ex-girlfriend was Sam. But I was Sam and Sammy my entire life pre-meeting him. So then I just went to Samara. So then it felt really weird ever to introduce myself as Sam or Sammy because I hadn't been called it. So interesting, all my family really struggled with it because they had called me Sam or Sammy my entire life. So new people would meet me and be like, oh, I thought your name was Samara, because my family would say Sam.
Yeah.
When Richard started working with me, he would say Sammy. I'm like, you can't. You have to call me Samara.
I know, we had this whole thing. I'm like, Rich, you can't.
And now-
you can't call
so
her
then when
Sam.
I
He's like,
met-
she's my sister, and I'll call her what I want.
I will name her what I want. I'm like, okay.
So then when I met Lee, he just started calling me Sam because my family did. So he started, and it took a little while, but then the same with our boys. They call me Sam. I wouldn't want them to call me Samara. It would feel weird.
Yep.
And they call me Sam now. And then, and
It's
so
like
now,
you're in trouble now. You
so
really
now I
have
actually
become
go
a
by,
different person.
now I'm actually like, I will introduce myself as Sam, or I'll introduce myself. Like, it's so interesting because back in the day, it's like that. It's funny how the different evolvements, like I've kind of taken back my name for reasons. But yeah, it's, for me, it's more like I personalize everyone's name. Like I call you T.
T, yeah.
I personalize everyone's name because for me, that's something that I can, like Jen is Jen always.
Jen.
I do it because it personalizes that person for me, creates that connection. Yet I wasn't letting anyone give me the connection because I was like, it's Samara and that's it. So it's interesting as things evolve.
Yeah.
Why? But yes,
But yeah, like your evolution of your leadership.
yeah.
Oh, I can't even put into words. I remember specific moments of transformation, and I know that they came from that guidance of watching that, that quiet transformation and how moving through things. But I genuinely think that those lessons you got at a time where it didn't just help your business, but you needed that for your life.
Well, when I was working with Tiana, I was still in my marriage and I was in a container of other coaches as well. So I was like this, I had a business, but not a coaching business.
Yeah.
And I was in a container with some like women that had big coaching businesses. And Ash, who you guys we've had our 2-part series, was in that
love
with me.
Ash.
So again, I gained some beautiful friendships in that space. But even being in that space, one of the women had said stuff to me that on a day I just had a breakdown about what was going on behind the scenes, and she came in and gave me a message, and it was just something that would forever sit with me. And by kind of doing that activity, and I think I'd spoken about this before about how, writing who you want in your life and what that person looks like, and can you show up as the wife of that person. And I did that, and my life completely changed, and she had to be like, you have to be okay with the fact that this might mean that your life this might mean your marriage completely ends and dissolves. And it did. And I had to be okay with that. But I look back now, and in it was horrific. It's been, and people have known little bits of what's been happening behind the scenes, but truly it has, from my best friend's point of view, you could probably say it's truly been on that side of it.
Yeah.
A horrific 2 years.
It really has.
It really was.
There's lots I could say, but I won't.
As my best friend, there's lots she could say. But that, as you said, as you reflect, and as I reflect now, I couldn't paint myself a better relationship if I tried, but I had to be okay with the process. I had to be okay with the fact that if I was going to continue to lead myself and step up for what I needed and what my children needed, other things were going to have to go with that.
That's it. And even like listening to what you're saying, and I remember that conversation, it was gorgeous Stevie that had that conversation with you. And when I said before about leadership, lead yourself first.
Yes.
So you have to go, well, who is the woman? And I think it's so easy in relationships as well. I've been married for almost 10 years now. It's so easy to point the finger like they. And so, well, hang on, are you being the identity and the vision of that wife that has that husband that's doing those things that you want them to be doing? And it's so hard because so many people don't want to do self responsibility and accountability.
Yeah.
But you have to lead yourself
And
there.
let me also say, you can be that wife and it does not change. And that's when you have to make the decision of what that looks like further.
But that's
I'm sorry, but I will say that.
Like not needing to change what other people are doing. That's you can't control and persuade out there, but you can change what you're putting out from here.
Yes.
And that will sometimes bring
And it
someone
helps.
else in.
And it does, and people will drop off. We see that even in business. And like you said it earlier, as we go through different stages of growth. And I've seen it. I've lost best friends as my business scaled. I've lost, because as you move through a new evolution, there will be people that will rise with you and people that don't, and that's not wrong. It's actually part of evolution.
Yeah.
And so you stepped into the newer version of you, and I think what's so clean about the way you did it is you were then able. You want to walk away from every situation, whether it's your marriage, a business, and go, I did everything possible not to blame them.
I was actually thinking that.
Yeah.
And everything possible not also to blame myself.
That's what I mean
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I can't go, it was him, it was her. I really tried and I did everything I could have done to be the best wife, the best mother, the best business owner, whatever it is that you're working through.
Yeah.
And if it falls away from there, you know that you've stood in integrity and leadership to it.
Yes.
Not many people will do it.
Yes.
Not many people will go there because it does require a loss of an old identity.
Yes.
To choose a new identity, and that's not comfortable.
No.
But it's so exciting.
Yes.
People
I get
are
so
funny about
excited
being
by that.
uncomfortable, aren't they?
Yeah.
People are funny about being uncomfortable. I think
It's because it's hard.
I know.
Because it's so easy. Like, I look back on seasons of my life and I go, I wish I just enjoyed that season and wasn't. And,
I feel like that with
I
parenting.
do.
I totally get that.
yeah.
I do that too a lot.
But it's really hard because we don't know when it's going to flip. And sometimes as a business owner, sometimes you're just like, I'm tired. Can we not just stop? I not like how often I say can I not learn any more lessons?
Yeah.
I've learned enough.
But
But
she's so much more valuable as a human, as a mentor.
yeah, it really does.
It does. I think about some of the things I've been through, and whilst I get I knew that was a red flag and I still allowed it. There's so many moments I haven't trusted my instinct and that's backfired. At the end of the day, I mean, for me it works and for you it works because you're a mentor, right?
Yes.
Both of you. It makes us more valuable.
Yes.
Like when I look at
Yeah.
some of the lessons, although they were hard, some of them were quite public, I go, it was actually end up being quite lucrative.
Yes.
Because other people that watch from the sidelines, watched the way I handled it as a leader,
Yes.
then hired me
Yes.
to say, what, we saw you stand when we saw this going on. We now want to learn that level of leadership.
And it's
Makes you more valuable.
Yes.
being able to relate to people.
Yeah.
I've got a client who has really had a similar experience that I've had. And if I hadn't gone through that, I would have
couldn't help
no
her.
idea how to lead her through
Yeah.
it. And I'm not leading her through it as in saying this is the lawyer you call or
No.
I'm not doing any of that. It's again, teaching her how to lead herself.
Holding the human
how
behind
can
it.
you these are the strategies I did in order to make myself feel better when I was in that space. And then she's like, what type of voodoo wizard are you? And I'm like, I just remember doing it. I just remember doing it. And then you go, oh, when you're in that space, you go, I thought it last night. I was like, I actually need to start practicing that same practice that I practiced with her because you forget that those things are what led you through the hard times and how you pull yourself out of them because we have to, unfortunately, even if it's hard, we've still got to lead a family. We've still got it. I still had 3 children to look after. So I had to keep building myself behind the scenes. When you had stuff happen with the business, you still had a business to run. You can't just be like, nah, I don't want to do any of it anymore.
I don't want to go to bed today. I mean, I still had, I give yourself a moment. I still had my moments and I had my trusted people. Have your network.
Yeah.
I had a network of people. I had a great mentor. I had obviously my husband, we're very close, and I just had a network, and I'm like, I'm just going to speak only to my network. I'm not going to speak outside of my network, and I'm going to move through this and learn the lessons and keep going.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because there's no other option.
Yes. And you, again, your integrity in that was always, even if you and I had ever had a conversation about it, not as a client, as friends, you still had ultimate integrity there.
It's the hardest thing too. It is.
Yeah.
It can actually be, especially when you're like, oh, I could just share some things that would just
because you're like, I'm really hurt, and I did, and
bring this
things
whole
happened
thing down.
to me. Yeah,
And to this day, I'm like, and Josh, I love him, but this is my husband. He'll be like, I just think you should just do it. And I'm like, no, because what would my this is my code. What would leadership do? Leadership wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And also the people that I work with and the people that I attract don't like drama. So why am I going to go out and publicize drama?
And
also on top of that,
so why don't
you're
speak
now
about
led
it?
by the Lord, so you wouldn't want to do it anyway.
No, I'm like, I've got, God is my revenge plan. Like, do you know what I mean? He looks after everything. You don't need to worry about any of that. You have a clean heart, forgive, and let God just do what he needs to do. I don't believe in karma.
Yeah.
I believe in God.
Yeah.
Simple.
So even for me, so I wanted to talk into a little bit of this, anyone that is listening, like I have obviously stepped now into Christianity for me. I grew up in it.
Yeah.
I have a really Christian dad, but more so was forced Christianity down my throat.
With your dad?
Yeah. With my dad. It was very old school forced Christianity. Yeah. So interesting enough, I had started to think about it. And when you say influential, you and I had a conversation about it one day, and you were like, oh, I am back at our church that I go to now. And I was like, And it had always been in the back of my mind. Those values, I think, stay with you forever. And I think even having a conversation with you about this one time, you were like, it's the values of like love and kindness, and, like how could you not? And they, have always stayed with me anyway. But myself moving back into church, it's been really valuable for me to have a fierce, because I know you as this fierce female who's like strong and powerful, to then have the questions behind all of the faith stuff, to be able to be like, okay, well, what about this? And what about this? And my best friend's the same. She's like fierce, and she's like, okay, I've got a question about this.
We
and
need to take you out for dinner, Tiana. We have questions. That was literally our message I got.
Can we go for a nice dinner? We have questions. Tell us all the things. But even in that, your integrity has been massive, because you have really founded yourself in what that feels like for you now. So again, though, as you move through it, we all speak in different versions. And I would say too, I think my involvement's been like that too. It was very crystals and, very universe, and a lot of it has changed for me as I have changed and developed who I am as a person and what my life looks like for my values now. But yeah, I guess when I say that, it's, I guess in my mind, it can be quite a meek personality with women in faith at times, which anyone that's faith right now will be like, why would you say that?
I think that comes from your
upbringing.
From dad.
Yeah.
I think that comes from dad. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been interesting even to watch your journey through this, because as you said, you're highly influential in any area that you're in. But I think that anything that you choose is always in love and kindness, in such strong values that, you're almost leading people to and I think that's the magic of you. You're leading people to a happier, calmer, peaceful lifestyle through the choices that you make, if that makes sense.
The thing I really like about the power that you have, that Samara talks about, like, you're a powerful person, but when we look at your relationship, you're not powerful in a way that disempowers your partner. And I think that's such a valuable, you don't have to take away from someone to be that, and vice versa. You know what I mean? Like, it's the whole, everyone can be strong, everyone can be brave, everyone can be soft.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be that one person has to fill this role and take it away from someone else.
Yes. Yeah, agreed.
It's huge. And I would say that it hasn't always been that way. So are you talking about my husband? When you
I
say
am
my
talking about
relationship?
you.
Yeah. So when I first started Tiana Rose Inc., and as you said, it made millions of dollars very, very quickly. So of course comes with that the huge growth, the go, the ego, the everything that came with that learning that lesson. And I did start to feel a little bit of the polarity shift, not even from the money side, because our other business makes more money than that anyway. So it wasn't about this money-making authority side. It was just I had gone from being the support role to him to now being, oh, no, sorry, I'm over here doing my thing, like almost dismissive. And at the time I couldn't see that, but it's like pulling the rug out from someone, you know, and I became quite a dismissive person, and it's so subtle. Dismissive is so subtle. It's when they come into the kitchen, for example, and let's just say you're finishing something, I don't know, you're editing something, and they lean over for a kiss and you're like, oh, just 1 second, I'm just finishing that. That's so dismissive in a relationship, but they're little things like that I'd actually created habits around that I didn't see until, like, he would point it out. That never went well for him. And that was like fireworks. It wasn't until after time I started feeling disconnect. And it wasn't a big fight or anything massive, but I started feeling this disconnect happen between us. And I started having to go, well, who am I being? And I would catch myself in moments where he was almost becoming, and this sounds so derogatory, but I'm just going to be really transparent, an inconvenience at times because I was so on and I was so focused. I don't get in my way, because I only had enough capacity for my business and my children in that moment, because I never would let them ever feel like an inconvenience. And I realized that my husband, who was my most supportive person, I had moments of that. So I actually had to stop and go, who are you being? And is this actually the relationship you want so you can go build this business? And he made a comment one day and he said, you give more of yourself to your clients than you do to me. And that was like, and I was like, you're actually right. I can't even fight back on that. Not you give more of yourself. Sorry, I'm going to correct that. You give the best of yourself, was what he said. Not more of yourself. You give the best of yourself.
Even harder.
To your clients than you do to me. And at first it's like, well, of course, you know, they're my clients and I want to help them win. And then I went, that's like so backwards, Tiana. That is so backwards. Like, this is your husband, this is your life partner. And so we shifted all of it. I shifted all of it in who I was being. I put lots of processes, standards in place, went back to the drawing board on what was important. Yeah. And rebuilt.
But see, there's lots of people that just couldn't do that. Do you know what I mean? This is what's so powerful. There's lots of people that'll be like,
relationships failed.
Yeah.
Oh, I've done that though. I've been divorced.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I've done that.
No, I love that. I was going to mention that because I love the fact that you
Was that too hard?
have gone through that. It's like I remember one of my clients who's a marriage counselor. He's on his second marriage, but I actually think there's more power in that because he understands.
He understands what you're going through.
What you know, like it's not just like, oh, I've had this peachy, wonderful marriage my whole life. Like he understands the nitty gritty that happens in relationships because he's had a relationship.
And the lessons we learn. Like, I mean, I'm blessed because I'm really good friends with my ex-husband. It was a nice breakup. It was, you know, certainly not what you've moved through at all, right? It was mutual. It was all of that. But I do look back and go, yes, I was younger. I was young when we met, young when we got married, but not using that as an excuse. But, you know, could have I done certain things differently and may have that relationship? Yeah, probably. You know, I was young, chasing shiny object syndrome a little bit, you know, like I had to learn that lesson. And when I got together with Josh, I had made a decision, everything that I knew that I hadn't showed up for in my previous marriage, I wasn't going to do that again. So then when I started doing certain behaviors and habits again, and he was calling me out for it, but I was like, you know, not listening, you're blaming. And, you know, he was sitting here, he'd say there were things in it that he also had to step up to the plate with, you know, as well.
The beauty of second marriages, right? You kind of know where you've messed up
Well,
first
you do. And I had to sit back and just go, what's more important? Like right now, if there was nothing else left, what would I want? I'd want my marriage and my children.
Yeah.
Like that's actually what matters the most. And so I'm going to protect that at all costs.
Yep.
All costs.
Yep.
Nothing will ever come between that.
Yeah. And you've said like, since we've spoken about different things, you're like, my marriage now is unbreakable. Like it's unbreakable. The most powerful.
I will be so true. I mean, we've done a counselling. You know, I've studied Gottman's. I've got my certification in Gottman's. If you don't know who they are, they're like #1 marriage counsellors in the world. They've done like studies over 40 years. They know, like, if you don't know, I'll tell you about that later.
Okay.
Game changing. We've done the work.
Yeah.
But I will be so transparent. We've now built our marriage under the Lord.
Yeah.
And it has. When your man, and I'm not going to preach, but I have to try and describe this in a way for people that aren't Christians, when he is submitted to a set, when I say submitted, when he is leaning into a set of principles, then you can lean into him because you're trusted that those set of principles are strong. So Josh always had strong morals and values.
Yeah.
But now when you look at the strong morals of the Bible, there's not one in there that I think anyone, even if they're not Christian, would say, don't agree with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love,
Yeah.
kindness.
Don't murder.
Pretty much all of personal development's been built off it, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Don't murder.
Don't
treat
talk-
others how you want to be
Yeah.
treated.
Don't
Yeah.
talk shit about other
You
people.
know,
Don't judge people.
When you look, like
Yeah.
go through it and actually even just go on ChatGPT now and actually type in, what does God say for how a husband should treat his wife? Like just type that in. Everything is how we all want to be treated. And
Yeah.
so if he's following and being obedient to that set of principles and submitted to that, how can I not submit to him? Because he's following a set of principles that ultimately puts us in the highest form of love. And that for me is what's changed our marriage.
and I think the thing is
And
too,
same for me as a
is
wife.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I look, people may not agree with me on this, but for me, it's where I'm at. I have to already be a boss in every other area of my life. And being able to and this is, you and I have had these discussions for years,
Yeah.
how I don't want to be a boss at home. I do
Yeah.
not. I want to be a wife at home. I want
I
someone
think
else
most
to make the
women,
decision.
if they were really honest with themselves, would say that.
Would say that.
Yeah.
Take care of me.
Yeah.
I have to be a boss in all other areas.
Yeah.
I don't know, and you may be different, but I've lived a life where I've been the boss in every area of my life, and it's exhausting. The fact that I don't now, and I can, and again, for me, and I'm not going to preach on anything, but for me, since we have been back at church and they're the values that my partner follows, I am so safe in a relationship that I can completely just
Yeah.
trust and understand that he's got me in all areas, and I can just sit back. And it's been, I've not said that before. It's been one of the most, it's an involvement for me because I've got to get used to that in different areas, but it's been the most secure I've ever felt because I can trust and know that that is ultimate safety. So as you said, it's like it's that.
When you started this conversation, you had said about like when from people that you'd known, it was quite meek. The people that had,
Yeah.
I don't even like using the word Christian. The only reason I don't like using it is I don't like it to ever sound like religion. For
Yes.
me, it's
Yeah.
about relationship with
Yes.
God, not so much religion, but it is what it is. It's understanding and for anyone, go read Proverbs 31, lady.
Yeah.
She makes money. She runs the home. Like she's
Tiana said
doing
that to me.
powerful things, that woman. She's an incredible wife. Like actually go read it. It's like will change your view on everything. And it's
Don't
about-
read the next verse.
It's only about this long. Yeah, just read that. Then stop. And I think what you realize when you get to move into that role, you soften.
Yeah.
We actually start to realize how powerful we are in a softened state to our home, to our man.
Yeah.
We as women set the temperature in every space we walk into. So it's, yes, we need the men, and the man wants to be the leader of the home, and they should be. They're actually the spiritual head of the home if you look at it from that side of it. But the woman sets the temperature of the home. And when we're in like boss babe and we're trying to control everything, we're not setting the temperature for our children and for our men to I guess, blossom, rise. And I've noticed the more and more I've stepped into that role and following Josh's leadership, it doesn't mean I still lead in certain areas that I'm stronger at, and he will even say like that's a you thing. I don't even know where to start with that. That's your zone of genius. We still play into that. We don't play into feminine, masculine, any of that. It's you're actually good at that, so you go do that.
Yes.
I'm good at this. I'll go do this.
Yes.
But when I realize that I set the temperature, I hold myself accountable to that. It's like when I was saying about we influence.
Yeah.
I can. And so yesterday when we were talking about this rebrand, I knew that I needed to set the temperature for him to actually decide, because ultimate, he needs to be completely aligned with it. But I get to set the temperature underneath that for him to be able to make a really informed decision on how he wants to make it, not me, because I could have like done it in 2 seconds, gone, these are the colours, this is what we're doing. And he would have actually just gone along with it because he trusts my zone of genius with that. But I knew that I could actually create a different...
disempowering for him.
I could, and I can create a different avenue that's now going to move. Like I can already see the messages from this morning, what he's moving to today. And I'm like, yeah, now he wants to do this with the business. Now we're franchising over here. Now we're going to take this business to America. And like I can just see the clogs, and that's the role of women. We see it.
Yeah.
I don't see everything.
We see everything.
We see
and
everything.
see
They don't.
nothing.
Yeah.
And so God put us in place to give man that power. And people don't realize that.
Yeah.
When you actually read it properly, when you
Yeah.
and understand it properly.
Well, when you sent me that verse, I was like, whoa.
She's powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Proverbs 31.
Yeah. And yeah, I just think the way you've moved through all of those different areas, and as you said, you're really good friends with your ex-husband and you parent beautifully together. Like Indy's a beautiful kid, and I've watched you speak on stage and I've watched Josh speak about Indy. Indy was how old when Josh? Only like 2 or 3? Three. So really little, which I can completely relate to. But yeah, watching that in their home and watching their relationships, and I think it's really important. And we've said this a few times over this, but I think this is the ending point for me is like, who are you influenced by?
Yes.
Who are you surrounding yourself with? Are they making you a better person or potentially not as great? Because I've really, like, for me, you know, having you in my life and, you know, people that surround me that, you know, are constantly uplifting, and as you said, who's in your corner, who's supporting you through this is really important. Have you got influential people that are, you know, giving you more? Are you, you know, or are you left
and
feeling
encouraging
depleted?
you to be more and
encouraging you to be
filling
more.
you up.
Yeah.
And,
you know, if you're going through hard times in your marriage, are you, you know, are you with people who are going to help you see things and are going to pray over you and spend time with you and like, or are they just going to be like, yeah, he's an absolute a-hole, get out, you're done. Like, what does that look like? Because at the end of the day, everyone needs to be supported in that, because no one knows when it's time to, you know, and I was reading something about that the other day, you know, how important it is when people are going through those tough times, you know, if you're oversharing, and this was a big thing for you with you and Josh, if you're oversharing to all of those people, all your friends, for example, if you're going through a hard time with him, they're not going to love him like you do. So they're going to have different opinions on him. So even in that side with how you show up in leadership with your relationship, you're very private. That is yours and Josh's stuff. Like, so
It's one of our highest values.
Like,
we don't discuss our marriage with anyone outside of our marriage unless they're like a paid counselor or something.
wow.
Yep.
I think I've heard you say that before.
Maybe with my best friend, Kira, like I might say, oh, look, you know, we're moving through something, but it's only because she's completely trusted and loves us both and can see a perspective. So sometimes it might be, hey, babe, can you help me with a perspective on this?
I think you need that though. Like,
But
I've
outside
done
of
that
that,
with
no one.
my best friend, because I'm like, I need some perspective. But again, you do it with the people that have the same morals and values that you do, because you don't want to do that with someone that doesn't have that, you know, because that feels unsafe.
Yeah.
Whereas
in saying that though, I still would only do it over small things.
Yeah.
Anything big, it's an absolute for me. It's like it's this one of the strongest values that it is high level betrayal if it is broken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you've spoken about that before.
Yeah, because you know, because like I said at the very start of this interview, we are influenced in every interaction.
Yes.
And it could be that one thing that someone says, and when you're vulnerable, you're easily influenced. So I like to think I'm not an easily influenced person because I've worked on not being. So for example, if someone comes into a space and they're like, oh, this person da-da-da-da, I won't then think that person is like that because someone's influenced me to thinking that. I've got really high standards on, well, I'm just going to take my own point of view.
Yes.
But when you're vulnerable, when you're down, when you're weak, because whether it's your marriage or your business, and someone plants a thought, because people are influential with planting seeds and thoughts. They don't mean to. They might think they're helping, right? I'm not saying the intention's wrong. Sometimes it might be, but most of the time it's pure intention.
Pure intention, yeah.
But it's not what you actually need in that moment. You can start to act on that. You can ruminate on that. You can bring that into your reality.
Yes.
And so for me, I said to Josh, even if you're at breaking point, let's go make sure we have a support network of therapists, counselors, whatever it is around us that you can call, because I don't want you to have no one.
Yes.
But I don't want you calling that single best friend that loves me and loves us being together, but might just say one thing that starts the seed planting and the harvest comes.
Yeah.
You know, let's protect, because our marriage is, like I said, at all costs. It is protect your connection at all costs.
Yeah.
And that's how we do that.
Yeah.
So it's not about not being vulnerable. It's about going, seeds get planted and we're going to protect our minds and only speak to someone.
And you need to apply
you
that
also
to
will
all
go to that
areas of
seed.
your
You'll be
life.
like, I need you to plant this seed because I'm in a bad mood.
And
Plant
we
it.
then share things in a way to get the response that we want.
Yes.
I've even noticed when you've done that.
Yes.
Because you're angry. And
Absolutely.
so you're like, da-da-da-da, and that's when I'm like, hang on, what about, you know, like.
Yeah, I have absolutely done that.
Sometimes we just want the validation. Because
No, tell me I'm right. Tell
I
me
know.
I'm right,
It's
Tiana.
like you wait. It's like, we'll know
Can I
if
show
it
you
was
what
the
you do? I'm
response
gonna
she
show you something
wanted.
with your body in a second.
because she'll either come back or she'll move to the next person
Yes.
to get the response she wants.
Because we do
Oh,
that.
I'm much better than I used to be.
Oh, absolutely.
No,
Yeah.
we all do it. I'm saying anything,
no,
even
no,
in
I
our
100%
business.
Everybody
do it.
does that.
We
Tiana's
bring
going to show you
people-
how I do it because I can feel my body doing it.
So any time that you've spoken about your past relationship,
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
that's body language,
Yeah.
right? Because you're actually now feeling it. You're able to articulate it differently, but it's still like you're feeling
absolutely.
the restriction.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I absolutely do that because I'm like I can feel my entire body tense when I do that.
Yeah. And that's the process. That's time
It's
as well.
all- yeah,
It's
because
time.
I think when you move, and this is like that leadership point, like when you move through something that I have been so silenced in, and
You feel
you've
muzzled.
done this, you feel muzzled. And when you know that there is things being said about you that are such lies, and they pull on the biggest points of your values.
Yeah.
Like, so for me, one of my highest values, and I can say this hand on my heart, you know, the Lord is listening, is fidelity. And I don't care if anyone else's isn't. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not
No, that's
judging
yours.
anyone.
Yeah.
But it's a really high point for me. So when you are having somebody who is telling other people that you've done that, when it's your one of your highest values, or one of my other, like, or you know how I am with finances and stuff like that, again, a huge one for me. Like, I'm so in integrity with that and really open with how I
Yeah.
do things and how I share. So when you've got someone who's meant to have loved you and meant to have you, and they will just tear you down, it's so hard to be like, and I've had one point of it when I've been on socials and I've just like let it go. And then afterwards I was like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. And I'm like, oh, well,
Sometimes you just get to boiling point though.
it's at
You
boiling
can't
point. It's
reprimand
really
yourself
hard.
for how
You
you're
do.
feeling at the time, you know?
because you are going through
And
so
you wanna
many
defend
things. And you
yourself.
want to defend,
Yeah,
you
you
want
know.
other people, because you're like, I don't want people thinking this about me.
Yep.
Like, this is not who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to defend, and you know people are thinking other things. It's really hard to like
Yeah.
let go and surrender and be like,
I think firstly, I'm sending you so much love because I can imagine how hard that is. And, you know, I've had situations not with a partner, but, you know,
Yes.
people saying things, and you so want to defend, especially when you know more of the story and you're
Yeah.
like, what you're saying about me is actually what you did, but now
Did,
you're saying
yes.
I did it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
I've got proof. Like,
yes.
do I just show that and then I don't have to say anything? Like, it
Yes.
is so hard. And I
Yes.
mean, you know exactly what I'm speaking
Yes.
about. And it is so hard. But again, I always say leadership does not need to defend itself.
Yes.
Yes.
Right? Integrity doesn't.
Yes.
Defense, and you look it up, the 101, like when someone moves into defense, we know what defense is, right?
Yeah.
It's trying to position a different point of view across.
Yep.
And
I can see that. Like 12 months, the first 12 months, I was so defensive.
Yeah.
And I'll get it to it every now and then. I'm almost at the end. I'm
Yeah.
a week and a half off the end, guys, which is huge. By this time this comes out, it will be done. But it does take time for you to be okay with the fact that you're like, okay, I need to let this go. I need to let it go. And for me, a big pinnacle moment, but again, I'm not preaching on this, was when I gave it to God.
yeah. It's not holding it in your own strength anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
And that was a big point for me, and something again that's like strange to all my family. Like, one of our friends was like, I didn't see God on your on your 2025 bingo point. And I was like, bingo card? And I was like, I know, neither did I. But, you know, I remember there was a day specifically that we went back to church and we were just, you know, led to go there that day, and you and Josh were there.
I know,
And
I
it was
remember.
like, I haven't seen you at church for like the last 4 weeks. Like, it doesn't always happen because there's
of
different services.
Yeah.
And you and Josh were there, and I just was like, if I don't let this go, it's going to eat me alive for the rest of my life. And it really would. And I remember being invited down to pray, and I did. And it was just like, you and Josh were like, had your hands on me. And it was just this moment of like finally letting go of so much. You know, you hold so much in situations like that. And I just don't want to be that person anymore. I don't
Yeah.
want to do that person. And after it, I became a different person because, and even in my relationship. So I would say to anybody, find that way where you can let go of it. And if God is not, that doesn't feel right for you, then that doesn't have to be your way. But
No,
find a way to like let go, because there's a lot of people that have been in business with other people and business relationships have
Yes.
broken up, or, you know,
Or even
friendships have broken up.
Online, you know, talking about like people saying things online about you that aren't true, and just holding your integrity and, you know, giving over to not needing to change what other people are
defend.
saying. You
Yeah.
don't need to defend yourself.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, what you have to, especially if that is happening, is the people that, whether it's in your case, it would have been friendships in that situation. In other cases, it might be clients or business people, depending on what the reason is. The people that want to work with you or that want to be your friend, they already know your heart.
Exactly.
And in those moments, and this is what I had to ask myself a lot of as well, is who do I actually want to call in? And by coming forward to jump into a low level drama that other people are trying to create due to their own insecurities is only then me going to call in people at that level, and I don't actually want to play at that level. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And so I had to really question that within myself.
I was driving here this morning and the verse kept coming through my head that you and I have spoken on, and it is the mouth speaks what the heart is full of.
Yeah.
And I think it all of the time because it's so true,
Yep.
you know, and I think that it's such a good checking point to where you are. The mouth will speak what the heart is full of, and what is that? What does that look like for you? What have you got to let go? Because whether it is in business or whether it is in marriages, whether it is in friendships, whether it is in parenting, you know, what are you holding right now that's holding you back from being the best version of you, mother, business owner, friend? Like, what does that look like?
And when you are either speaking bad to yourself or having negative thoughts or speaking bad about others, you do have to go, what is my heart full of right now? Like, what is my heart? We always do mind nurturing. I'm like, does anyone ever think about their heart, what their heart needs?
Yeah.
And so I now can hold compassion towards people that have done that or say negative things, because I go, oh, wow, your heart must have been hurting so bad
Yeah.
For you
that
to
your
say or
mouth,
do,
just, you couldn't even hold your own leadership in that moment. You had to be quite public and spit fire about someone else because your heart was in that place.
Yeah.
And so you actually, when you move into that, you stop questioning your own identity and you start going, well, actually, I hold compassion towards you because, wow, you must have been in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's not nice for anyone. You don't want anyone in that kind of pain where they do that to someone else.
Yeah. So I think what we've got from this is Tiana is amazing.
Oh,
Yes.
Everyone
She's a
needs a
wizard.
Tiana in their life, and I would 100% say to everyone, jump on. It's Tiana Rose Inc.
Yeah,
on
Tiana
Instagram.
Rose Inc. Yeah.
TianaRose.inc. Because she comes through with some absolute bangers at times, and you're like, oh, like Trace will ring me and be like, did you get that, Tiana? And I'm like, yep, got it, hit it. But I know I'm lucky.
You guys are setting the bar really high for me right now.
No, because it's who you be, right?
Yeah.
It's who you be. And I've watched it's not like I'm like, hey, here's a new business coach. She's amazing. I've worked with her for 3 seconds. Like, I've watched your entire
part of it.
evolvement and watched that.
You've had front row seats to the good, the bad and the ugly.
And I have been able to be, and I think like for any new business owners, like find the mentor, the coach, whatever that looks like, that allows, and with that integrity that allows you to get in the beginning, because I did it in the beginning with you.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to let myself do this and not have someone to support me. And I didn't do it in the salon space because that didn't feel integral for me. I didn't want to learn somebody else's techniques and then teach them. I wanted to know mine, and I wanted to then lead through that. But find somebody in the early days, because I invested massively to be like, teach me just that side of it, not the strategy and stuff, but teach me how to stand up as a leader. Teach me how to, you know,
man, did you ever?
and
It's so true. Do you know, I hired my first business coach in the April, and I didn't start my business till almost the December.
yeah.
So I absolutely believe in learn the skills that you need to learn, so then you can come out and hit the ground running.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even the same thing, like watch this space, because I don't know what is about to come out with you. But
I know, but I'm so excited.
I know, me
because
too.
it's creating
Remember?
anticipation.
Curiosity.
Curiosity.
yeah.
I'm not doing it on purpose. I do have some really epic things coming out that will change the way women sell, show up, speak.
I can't wait to
Cold
see what I'll be
command.
doing. I was thinking that this morning in my 3-minute cold shower after I'd had my shot of Celtic sea salt. Like, I wonder what I'm going to, after I'd done my outside walk, I just wonder what I'm going to be doing next that's going to get planted.
And when
from
I
this
say I'm
conversation.
led, so Jen's saying those things because she's been led
In one of my spaces.
by Tiana as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
In many spaces.
Celtic sea salt, sunlight first thing. They're the
Yeah.
two things. I don't have a 10-step morning routine, but those things are non-negotiables.
Yes. And even my kids have Celtic sea salt
Yeah.
every morning
I'm
now.
not
I
doing
just
that right
love it.
now. I need
See
to get
what I
back
mean
on
though?
all
That's
the
what I was saying.
things. Yeah.
When you get overwhelmed, we almost punish ourselves
Yeah.
and stop the foundational things that we know support us.
Yes.
You put that in place, even when you've got resistance to it, everything feels like you can
And
breathe
it feels
again.
so simple. It's like, okay, I feel overwhelmed. I feel like there's a lot going on, but I can just have a 3-minute cold shower
Yeah.
and I can just have a little bit of Celtic sea
It's
salt.
protect your nervous system. hey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Regulation, nervous system. Again, it sounds so big, but it's not. It's little things that support us.
And that discipline, like I feel like you talked about discipline for
Jen
a
is
year.
Jen
and I
is
just
the discipline
honed
queen.
on that.
I would like to be like Jen when it comes, and Tiana when it comes to discipline, because I am not gonna, and I'm gonna be in integrity and say I am definitely not disciplined enough.
You know the question, it's like, again, it's one of those 101 things, but I do love discipline. It serves me well though because I'm doing so many things.
Yeah.
And I need to have a very busy mind, and concentration is not my easiest command. So I do need to have discipline. But anytime I'm like, I don't really want to do that. I make excuses to myself. I will actually just say, so the person, we all have a vision of ourselves on who we want to be. We all do. Even if we don't feel like we're in that moment, we all have this vision. Is she doing that? Would she do it? Yeah, she'd go for that walk. Yeah, she'd do that. Yeah, she'd write that post. Yeah, she would do that. Oh, okay. So if I don't do it, I'm not becoming that person. And then it's like, got to do it.
Yeah.
So I ask myself that question.
I just pulled a lot out of this podcast, but I feel like that ultimately.
Should we say it again?
I'm just
Louder. That
say it louder.
person.
Okay, and
here we
I
go.
know this
I'm gonna
because
show you
this
in
is
a
the
graphic.
work that I did when I moved through my marriage. Like, say it again, sister. Because
I will say it again,
I'm
because
going to
I
listen to
will
this
describe
podcast
it.
over and over again. Get Tiana in my head.
Well, do you know what's funny? My very first, so when I started the business 4 years ago, my very first free masterclass, I taught this.
Yeah.
And to this day, it is still the foundation, one of the foundations.
Yeah.
So everyone has a vision
Yes.
of who they want to be. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying it might be a business owner, it might be a multimillionaire, it might be having a baby for the first time, whatever that vision is. Okay?
Yep.
Hold that vision. That vision's here because you're not it yet.
Yep.
That's why it's a vision.
Yeah.
Right? You're here.
Yep.
You need to fill the gap.
Yeah.
So who is the identity of the person that has that vision now?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to use money because it's an easy one for if they're business owners. You're earning $10 million a year.
Yeah.
Okay. The decisions you're making now, are you making them from a $10 million identity?
Yeah.
Or are you making them from where you're currently at? Because if you're making them from where you're currently at, you'll stay where you're currently at.
Yeah.
So, and that's the question I ask myself all the time.
Yeah.
And if it's not money, if it's like a health discipline, a wife discipline, whatever it is, am I showing up as that person now? That's how we collapse timelines.
Yeah.
That's literally how you collapse time. Because if your identity doesn't match the level of success you want, you will self-sabotage it every time.
Yeah.
That's why I do so much identity work,
Yeah.
because we have to actually start stepping into those disciplines now. And I'm not like, I still fail at it.
Look at Cheshire Cat. I'm like, yeah.
I know.
I'm getting crazy eyes over here.
I feel the same way though. I'm like, because you can see it.
You can see it every
Yeah.
time.
I can see it.
I can see where I have had lull moments, businesses like this. And every single time, I'm going to be so honest, and I know this is going to be so activating / triggering for people listening. It's not because consumers aren't buying. It's not. Yes, there is market trend, yes, but most of the time it's because I'm not doing what I said I would do or what I need to do in order to be that person that makes that happen. And that might not be something personal. It might be getting a product in, launching a certain way, launching a new funnel. It might be something outside of just who I am being, but mostly that'll start with who I'm being because I'm not being the person pulling the trigger on those things or calling the right people, asking the right questions. I'm making decisions from this Tiana, but this Tiana will stay as this Tiana. She wants to be this Tiana.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
Me too. That's a great ending point. I feel like people are going to want part 17 up to part 17 of Tiana because she's just got so much.
Yeah.
So much. Like you were like, what are we talking about? I'm like, we're just
I
going
know
to
I came
shoot
in and
straight
said,
back.
gonna
you
go
haven't
with
given me a
it.
brief. We're just going to rant and
Yeah.
see where we go. But
It was incredible.
I love watching
There
people
is
transform. It's amazing.
So
Yeah, it's the
much
best.
that I just pulled from that in so many different ways. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure Jen is too. So yes, please get on and follow Tiana because she comes out with some bangers.
Yeah.
When she wants to. That's the best thing about it. Because whatever this program is next, it's going to be like,
I can give you a hint.
Incredible.
I can tell you one of them.
Go.
Yeah.
It's the Woman of Influence Academy.
oh, I love.
It's going to be in person. I teach people how to speak, command, use their body language, use their tonality.
Jen and I are in.
Yeah. Yeah. Literally
peed a little bit.
But it starts at the identity level. And then there's actual strategy, like do this, do that. Like there's at the actual how. I think that's missing in a lot of spaces. But there is also the work underneath it. It's a whole academy and it's amazing.
Wow.
And this is the first place I've told anyone. So
I'm really excited.
How can I not tell you? I love you.
Everyone's like, how do I sign up now? I've just listened to this podcast. How do I sign up for it? That sounds amazing. Thank you so much. I know your time is so precious and I am so deeply grateful for having this conversation. I feel like I needed that and so many people are going to take so much out of that. There's so many amazing, like I was like my head was ticking the whole time. But it's such an honor for you to be one of my girlfriends and to be influenced by someone who is so incredible.
Who are you being influenced by?
Because
and who are you influencing?
Yeah.
Because you're planting seeds as well.
Yeah. You want to be your ultimate human so that, everyone wants to have that person that they speak about. Mm-hmm. Everyone wants to be sitting where Tiana is and having someone say, you have changed my life fundamentally for the better in so many ways. And you continue to do it as you continue to grow. I feel like I am the same way. And I am influenced. I definitely buy the things on, online and things like that. But it's finding that powerhouse that you relate to so much that have moved through things that allow you to move through it as well and feel like a better person around.
Yeah, absolutely.
You realize you are that person.
Yeah. Thanks.
You are that person. I think when any one of your followers, listeners, friends, staff members have watched what you've moved through with so much grace. And I know at times it hasn't felt like grace and it's felt like I just want to go in the corner and cry and pretend that the world doesn't exist today. You say, I show up in leadership. That's the ultimate leadership.
Thank you.
You are leading yourself, you're leading others, and you're continuing to move through it and be really honest with where you're at the same time and not just go, I'm going to sweep that under the rug and pretend it doesn't exist. And I think your followers and friends are better people because of you.
Agreed. And now she cries.
Yeah. I've got no words now.
So when you say everyone wants to hear that, and thank you for pouring into me, it means a lot, but you need to know that you actually are that person.
Thank you.
And have been that person for many years for everyone. And as a client, I can say as well, like you being a client in my space allowed me to be a better mentor because you were able to hold a level of integrity and leadership in my space when things got crunchy that allowed me to lead better. So thank you for being that amazing client.
Oh, guys, everybody needs to go and have a hug now.
Yeah.
We want to say thank you so much to Tiana for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. This has been fun.
It has been so fun.
Sweating. My eyes are sweating. My body's sweating.
I was like, it did get a little bit hot for a while. I'm like, whew.
All the emotions.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
We'll have all the deets in the show notes, guys. Thank you so much for listening as always. And we'll be back to chat to you soon.
Bye.
Goodbye.